Today we'll continue with the topic on coastal water level fluctuation. Next we look at wind setup or storm surge. If the wind stress acts on the water surface, it generates waves and surface current causing the forward mass transport, and as a result of that we have a higher water elevation on the downwind direction, pretty much like what we see in the sage, except that wind setup is not oscillatory. Wind setup will produce a setup like this as long as the wind action continue to apply the shear stress on the surface of the water, and if the wind cease, then the wind setup will diminish back to the original condition again. Now typically the wind speed that's taken for wind setup estimation is taken at an elevation of 10 meter. However, if the wind data is only available for other elevation, then a conversion will have to be made accordingly. Here on this slide, we see the equation for the wind setup given by this delta S, which is calculated from this expression. It depends on D, which is the water depth, and we see a very long numerator here. We have KSB, which is basically the combined surface and bottom stress coefficient, which is approximately given by 1.1 of the wind stress coefficient Ks, and the wind stress coefficient can be calculated using this expression based on the wind speed in meter per second. We also have W, the wind speed here. We have Wx. Wx is the component of wind velocity in the setup direction. So for example, if we want to find out what is the setup in this position and the wind is blowing in this direction, then we will have to resolve the wind into two components, this component and this component, which are perpendicular to one another. So this component will not cause any setup here, but the setup at this location is dependent on the wind speed in this direction only. So that is the Wx that we are referring to, and delta x is the distance or the length that the wind blow over the surface as defined in the previous figure. So that is the one of the factor that is going to dictates what is the magnitude of the wind setup. As before, since the wind may act over a large distance with different depth, so for normal shore profile, whereby the depth changes from one segment to another segment, then we will have to look at the velocity of the wind in individual segment, starting from the offshore position where the setup is negligible. So for every segment, we will be able to calculate the wind setup, and the setup is transferred to the successive segment as an adjustment to the water depth. If the basin is enclosed, then set up on one end due to wind will be accompanied by set down on the other end, so that the total volume of water displaced are equal. Here we have one example for wind setup calculation. We will discuss this in detail during our online sessions.